Hi, seventh graders. Mrs. Amma here again. As you can see, myself and Mrs. Gagliardi are out again for correcting. So we're going to keep going through our angles packet with the video lessons today. So for homework yesterday, once you finished the video, you were to work on question number 4 and number 5 on page 8. So I have my answers here that we can quickly go over and jump back into identifying types of angles. Real quick, before we go through this video, please remember that you should have clicked on the quizzes assignment in Google Classroom just to practice identifying types of angles, supplementary, complementary, angles around a point before you do this lesson. So if you haven't, you want to pause here and go back and finish the quizzes assignment. So question 4 on page 8 of your note packet, they were supplementary angles. They gave you all kinds of angles in lines, but Z 158 and the other Z form a straight line making 180 degrees. They didn't tell us anything about these three angles, nor did they ask us to find them. So those three angles add up to 180, so Z is 11. So I described them as supplementary, I wrote an equation, the three angles add up to 180, and I solved for the value of Z. Question 5, same idea. They wanted us to write an equation, describe the relationship, and find these two angles. So they're described as supplementary. Again, these three angles make a straight line 180 degrees. So the equation would be to add the three angles together to get 180. Now 90, remember that little square means 90 degrees. They're going to try to trick you, but instead of writing the 90, they're going to draw a picture to make sure you catch it. So when I combine like terms and solve the equation, I get x is 15, but the question wants me to use x to find these two angles. So EPB is this guy right here, this x, so x is 15 degrees. And CPA is this 5x, so 5 times 15 is 75. So still on page 8, we have question 6 here. The following figure shows three lines intersecting as a point. So at quick glance, you might say angles around a point, but if you look at this, they're not identifying all the angles. There's three of them that are blank, meaning they're not asking me to find them, and they didn't say what they were. I need something about all the angles around a point for it to add up to 360. What I do see right off the bat is this X is vertical from this space right here, meaning he's looking at himself in the mirror, so he's also X. So even though they didn't identify that, I know that is X. And once I did that, now I can see that 86, X, and 68 form a straight line, which we call supplementary. Supplementary angles are angles that form a straight line and add up to 180 degrees. So if they are supplementary, my equation would be 86 and X and 68 add up to 180 degrees. So we described the relationship, but now they want us to use an equation with that relationship. Now I want to solve this. So I'm going to put the runway in so I can solve for the two sides. So first thing I want to do is combine the 86 and the 68 together. And when I add those up, I'm going to get X plus 154. I add them together on my calculator to get 180. And then I'm going to subtract both 154 on both sides. And those will cancel, so X will equal 180 minus 154 is 26. So we wrote an equation, solve for X, we're all finished here. So 86 plus 26 plus 68 makes 180 degrees. We turn to the next page. On page 9, we have question 7. The following figure shows four lines intersecting at a point. Describe the angle relationships in the diagram. Write an equation for the angle relationship shown in the figure and solve for X and for Y. So I have two letters to solve for after I describe the relationship and write an equation based on that relationship. All right, so I know I cannot write an equation with both X and Y in it. We only know how to solve an equation with one variable. When you get to 8th grade next year, you'll start learning how to solve equations that have two variables inside them. But right now for 7th grade, we want to write one. So I can't go all 360 degrees because I don't know all the angles. Plus, I have a y and an x. I can't put an equation with both of them at once. So if I look at this closely, I'm looking for what pieces within this I can use. So my eye is drawn to this line right here. That line is made up of this 25, the y, the 40, and that piece there. So I can't use this guy because I don't know him, but it's vertical with x, but I can't use x and y in the same equation. So let's pick a different line to look at. So if I look at, let's see, how about if I look at this line right here? So it's made up of 25x and this blank eye and 96. So I need to know something about this blank eye to use this line, which is supplementary 180 degrees, a straight line. But if I look at that 40 is staring across at this guy right here. They're vertical angles. So now I do have an equation I can use. The supplementary angles that make that line would be the 25 plus the x plus the 40 plus 96. That equals 180 degrees. So if I have combined like terms, 25, 40, and 96, I put my runway in. If I add those like terms together, I'm going to get an equation that is x plus 161 equals 180 degrees. So to solve this, all I got to do is subtract 161 on both sides. And my calculator is going to tell me x is 19 degrees. So if I go back to the picture, now x isn't this unknown thing. X is going to be 19 degrees. So now that I know that's 19 degrees, how can I use that to help me find y? So now, if I draw this line, before we couldn't use that because we had x and y, but I don't need x anymore. I know x is 19 degrees. Can I now write an equation using those pieces? Right? 40, y, 25, and 19. These four angles make this straight line, which is again 180 degrees. So once again, I have supplementary angles made up of 19, which was x, but now we know what it is, plus the 25, plus y, plus 40 equals 180 degrees. As I'm writing that, I'm noticing something, but we can check that at the end. So if I add 19, 25, and 40 together, my calculator is going to tell me it's 84 degrees. So y plus 84 equals 180. So I'm going to take away 84 on both sides. And let's see, when I plug that into my calculator, y equals 96 degrees. So let's see, we described the relationships, we wrote the equation, solved for x and y. So y is 96. I'm going to take my lines out for a second to see if you notice anything about that 96. So we solved x and said that was 19 degrees. We just solved for y and got that was 96 degrees. After we started, I saw a shortcut, right? These two lines are intersecting. 96 is staring across at himself. Y was vertical with the 96. So the shorter way would have been noticing the vertical angles. But that's okay. We still got our answer in a different way. Okay, question 8. Again, describe the relationship in the diagram. You can label it as we need to. Write an equation based on those angle relationships so we can solve for the value of x. So again, there's a bunch of lines that are intersecting, a little ray popping out here. So if you look at it, I could go 360 degrees if I had some more information. I know that this is 90 and that piece is 90, but I still have, oops. I'm going to pause for a second and see if I can fix my pen here. Okay, so I'm back. My pen should be working. So we noticed this 90 and this 90. So we started talking about, I still can't use 360 degrees all the way around because this is x. I can probably use the vertical angle of x right here, but these pieces are still unknown. To have 360 degrees, you have to know something or need to find something about every single angle in here. So let's see what I do know. I'm noticing this straight line is made up of x, which I need to find, the 90 and the 77 they gave me. So those would be supplementary angles, wouldn't they? They're on a straight line. So supplementary angles. So the equation is x, 90, and 77 put together equal 180 degrees. So now I just need to solve this equation for the value of x, because we already described it and we just wrote our equation. So if I add 90 and 77 together, I would get x plus 167 equals 180. So again, these equations aren't too tough to solve once I find the relationship that describes them to write it. So I'm going to subtract 167 on both sides. So x is going to equal 13 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to skip number 9 for right now, and we're going to go to number 10. Okay, so we're on the last page here. We got 10 and 11 left. 10 says, describe the angle relationships in the diagram. Write an equation for the angle relationship shown in the figure and solve for x. So we have to describe it, write an equation, solve for x. Find the measure of these two angles. We have 4 things to do in this one. So after we find x, we're going to plug it in to find those 2 angles. So if I look at these guys, they want me to find this by getting x for 3x. This guy is 90. They're trying to trick us by drawing it instead of writing it. We need to find what 2x is, and this guy, which is called the reflex angle, because it's larger than 180 degrees, but less than 360. So if you notice, I'm going all the way around this. I know something or I need to find something. These are angles around a point. So if I'm going all the way around, they're making 360 degrees. So the reflex angle of 225 plus 2x plus 90 plus 3x is going to equal 360 degrees. So now to solve this equation, I'm going to put my little runway in here. I'm going to start by combining like terms. 225 and 90, if I add those up, that's 315. And I have 2x and 3x, that makes 5x. And that all equals 360. So now that I cleaned up the equation, combined like terms, I'm going to start by subtracting 315 on both sides. So then 5 times x equals 45. And I'm going to solve for x by dividing both sides by 5 and get x is equal to 9. So I've described the angle relationship, I wrote the equation, I solved the equation for x. Now I want to plug it in for these 2 angles. So the first thing they're asking me is to find the measure of angle JAH. So let me switch colors here. JAH is the 2x. So 2 times 9, that would make that angle 18 degrees. And if we switch color, we'll go maroon here. Then we have to find the measure of angle GAF. So here's GAF, that's 3x. So that equals 3 times x. So 3 times 9, that angle is going to be 27 degrees. And our very last one today, question 11. So we're going to describe the angle relationship, write an equation to represent that relationship, and then solve for x and find the measure of this angle here. So if I look at this guy, again, they're trying to trick me by looking like there's nothing there, but they gave me this little square. So this is 90. So they gave me 90. We need to find x. This is 24. And this guy, again, a reflex angle to more than 180 degrees, is 5x. So again, I know something or need to find something about everything around this point K. So you have angles around a point. So I know that 5x, 24x, and 90 make 360 degrees. So if I can solve this equation, oops, erased too much there. So if I solve this equation and find the value of x, I can plug it in to find the parts. So if I combine my terms, I got 5x and x here. That makes 6x because there's really a 1 hiding there. And then 24 and 90 added together would be 114. So now that I've combined like terms, x's with x's, number with number, I can take away 114 on both sides. 360 minus 114, that's 246. So I'm going to divide that by 6 on both sides. And when I divide those x's, 41 degrees. So we described the relationship. We wrote an equation based on the relationship to find x. Find the measure of angle JKG. So let's see. JKG, that's this guy here. So the measure of angle JKG equals x, which is 41 degrees. If they had said, what is the measure of LKM, this guy here, we would take 5 times 41 to get our answer. Okay, so that looks like we've reached the end of our notes for today. Please make sure that you have everything filled in and that your quizzes assignment is finished, and we will see you tomorrow.